Welcome to the POMcast with Steve Willis, your independent, unbiased, and unbought source for Ole Miss athletics. Good morning, October 5th, 2020, Monday, Alabama week, Alabama Respect Week. We will respect the Crimson Tide. Now, we're going to have some little fun here. I want to take this opportunity to apologize for missing the We've Got Notes this weekend. I know that after week one, there are several of y'all that are looking forward to it. I had a funeral I had to go to, and I just wasn't here, and I didn't want to act like I was. So we'll talk about the game Saturday today, and this will kind of be the We've Got Notes podcast for last week. Now, let's talk about one thing, and that is how good Matt Corral looks whenever he develops confidence. And now, it wasn't perfect. We missed two swing pass, flare passes, a pass around the line of scrimmage that you have to be 100% on. We missed two of those against Kentucky. We missed one against Florida, so that's an improvement area for him to work on. But everything else, anything down the field, he gets comfortable and is just letting it rip. And Jonathan Mingo really emerged. We said last week he needed to. It was time for him to. Well, he did. 8 catches, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Elijah Moore caught the touchdown that was going to eventually be the game winner. Mingo became the first Ole Miss receiver not named Elijah Moore with a 100-yard game since 2018. A.J. Brown was the last. DeMarcus Lodge also went over into that game. So we have a lot of stuff here. Matt Corral tallied multiple TD passing and back-to-back games for the first time in his career. It's just building offensively. Now, in the stadium in Kentucky, only 12,000 was there. That probably, whenever that two-point conversion that play in overtime, they scored the touchdown. They're probably benefited from that. So it's pretty good. The Rebs moved to like 29-14-1, or 28-14-1. They vacated in 2010. This is the third straight meeting between the two teams in Lexington. That's kind of interesting that they haven't been to Oxford in it's 4 games. That's bizarre. And the home team has won 4 of the last 6 contests in the series. Now, everybody else is going to harp on Matt Corral, who had a fantastic game. Nobody's saying he's not. But I want to take this opportunity to talk about the others. Now, we didn't see much of Jerry and Ely. I mean, he had like 47 yards rushing in the first half, and in the second half, he kind of went away. Hopefully, everything is all right there. We mentioned Jonathan Mingo. Elijah Moore had 10 catches for like 90 yards. Kentucky was obviously keying on him. And the design of Kentucky was to stack the box and then play a cloud of cover one above it. Those outside receivers were main coverage, just off coverage. But to get them in that position, that opened up our passing game. And as you can see in the third quarter, we went a lot of empty with Matt Corral just counting people in the box. If there was a certain number in the box, he threw it. That's when Mingo started really breaking out. And second is if the numbers in the box was less than that, Matt Corral would run a quarterback draw, which he consistently did in the third quarter, and it kind of completely unlocked their defense. And it kind of forced the linebackers to make a decision. Like I've said before, this offense is torture on linebackers. It does nothing but create false steps and most of the time they can't be right. They just know how to pull the linebackers where they want to go. And you saw that in the third quarter. Kentucky went up 28-14, and then 2 Jonathan Mingo touchdowns later in the passing game. Of course, a lot of empty there. Snoop Connor touchdown, which, believe it or not, was kind of reminiscent of Isaiah Willard against Arkansas in 2017. Go back and look at that if you want to see it. But it was kind of interesting. Kentucky gets the ball back, wakes up, drives the length of the field, scores the tying touchdown, gets the ball first in overtime, scores the touchdown. The kicker, Ruffalo, misses a PAT. Ole Miss gets the ball, goes straight down, scores a touchdown, and kicks the extra point and wins 42-41. Now, everybody, we're going to talk about the defense in segment 2, but because that's what everybody's worried about and everybody's fretting about, and I'm going to tell you why it's happening. Now, we could get in the weeds and tell you why each play is happening, but I'll tell you what I see is happening from the big picture, and hopefully ways that people can understand. Now, with Ole Miss on offense, I mean, they ran the ball again probably 10 or 12 times more than they threw the ball yesterday. It's a running team. It's a running system with deep shots kind of thrown in. The passing game is built off the running game. We're not just slinging it around to sling it around. Everything is a play building off a play. Everything is designed to see what the defense does, so if they do it again, you can punish them extra the next time you do it by running a play off of that. Everything is about stacking plays in this offense, and you can see that. They talked about it in the Mississippi State-Arkansas game with Kendall Briles learning about stacking plays from Lane Kiffin, and they ran in a couple in a row a receiver screen, and then the blocker faked like he was going to block. He was wide open in the end zone. They ended up scoring a touchdown. So the offense is based off stacking plays. Matt Corral has been brilliant the first 3 weeks of the season, and I don't see how anybody could think otherwise. Anyway, segment 1 in the books. We'll be back right after this. Stick around.
Only 10% of us get enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of us are overweight or obese.
We spend 6 hours a day in front of a screen.
As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us the right start in sports, and we'll never stop.
Learn how at active4life.ca.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis from Positively Ole Miss. We're almost done with this break. We'll be back with good information quite soon.
The military has been in every generation of my family, and so has VA. It wasn't easy for my dad after Vietnam, but VA helped him and my mom get the home they'd always wanted. My grandpa's been coming to VA since World War II. They even helped him lay to rest one of his battle buddies from Normandy. And me, I followed in their footsteps and served with pride. And now that I'm out of the military, the GI Bill's helping me with school. Every generation of my family has served, and VA has served us all.
All right, POMcast, Stephen Willis on the Positively Ole Miss Network. Hey, a little house cleaning before we get into the defense. You can Follow us on Twitter at the Stephen Willis and at Positively. Thank you to those that already have. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast or join our Facebook group at Positively Ole Miss. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Positively Ole Miss. Hit the bell for notifications so you'll know when we're going live. And of course, you can join our Twitch channel at Positively Ole Miss, all one word. Look forward to seeing you there. We're also on a plethora of audio devices and podcatchers, and we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn, and we might be there now on iHeartRadio and Pandora. So that's what we're doing. Now, we said our goal this whole time is to expand the fan base, to provide information for free, and not suppress growth of the fan base. Back in the 80s and before, the Clarion Ledger was in every home and was a source of information for every person. Now, there's a paywall to get in to get information. So we want to eliminate that paywall and bring information to you. And whenever we do this, it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be something you haven't seen. And just stick around the Positively Ole Miss channel for that. We're still 6-7 months away. We are finding out patterns. We're finding out show formats right now. We're learning about the streaming and things like that. So once we get that settled, we'll move into production of video podcast or video shows, because it's going to be more related closely to TV shows than a podcast at that point. There'll still be an audio portion available, but it'll look more like Paul Feinbaum than the normal streams on the internet. So it's going to be pretty cool. And just stick around and bear with us for that. So I want to say that there's hope for our defense this year. I know. I'll say it again. There's hope for our defense this year. Now, I realized that Kyle Trask threw all over them, and then Kentucky ran all over them, and everybody is going to be doom and gloom about the defense and come with hot takes like you have to recruit your way out of this, which I've said up front. Ole Miss is going to have to get better on the recruiting trail. They're going to recruit to a certain extent, but that is a crutch. There is a reason this defense has struggled coming out of the gate. Now, as we told you on Boot Camp the Defense, which I think we had one episode of, this is a feast or famine defense. It was set up to be hyper aggressive to start with. And it was designed to force people to the star and to the buck. Those are the two playmakers on the defense. So, Sam Williams, who is one of those bucks, missed most of fall camp with an issue. He's only had a couple of weeks, and is probably week 3, week 4, week 5 before he gets back to his normal self. Tavius Robinson is from Canada. Remember, with JUCOs, it takes about 5 or 6 games for it to click over. I don't know. It may be a little longer with a Canadian player. It may be a little less. We don't know. But it's worth keeping an eye on. That's the two players at the buck position. At the star position, Dalen Gill got the start against Kentucky. Jay Stanley did against Florida. As with JUCOs, it takes 5 or 6 games for them to fully acclimate. And Also, the defensive backfield, they missed about half of fall camp due to COVID. There's some issues there. So I'm not excusing what they did. I mean, we won the game, and it doesn't matter what they did because we won the game. It matters what they did if we don't lost the game. But those two players that's supposed to be the playmakers, where everything funnels to them, they're going to make a lot of plays, and they're right off tackle on both sides. And that's where the big gaping hole was against Kentucky. It was right off tackle. Go to the other side, right off tackle. So, this defense can get a lot better if Otis Reese is cleared, because I think Otis Reese will play the star position. I think he's set to play in place of Jay Stanley or Dalen Gill. That's just my opinion. I haven't seen anything as well as nobody else. Like we say, we cannot go to practice from any state in the union. So, Otis Reese will help this defense considerably. And you could see something where they jump from a bad defense to an average defense / good defense about week 5 or 6. Which is good because the hard part of our schedule was going to be the early section. Now we have Arkansas coming up after Alabama. Auburn is gettable and Vandy is gettable. So there's a chance after Alabama to start rolling off some wins. I don't think we're going to beat Alabama. I think they're going to cover against Alabama right now. That's my first thought of the system. It's just, I think that really nobody is going to stop them on offense. Now they're going to score, and later on in the season, as the defense makes their marked improvements, they're going to go. And they're going to be a handful by the time they go into Tiger Stadium in the last game of the year. You can see it. You can absolutely see it. And if not, with Jacob Springer and Otis Reese in the secondary and the others coming back, they've added just talent to the secondary outside of recruiting, and it's not going to count against next year's 25. That's important to realize as well. So if the NCAA screws us, which we all expect to happen, and Otis Reese and Jacob Springer can't play until next year, that's like saying next year we have 27 initials. And they're adding defensively in the recruiting class. All these players are going to be back on defense. So these are depth pieces. They are, if they're better, the defense just got better. It's a talent jump better. So consider that as well going into the future. But as of right now, those two alley players, the star and the buck, the reason this defense is struggling so much is the fact that they are still getting acclimated. And everybody says, well, they should be acclimated playing football. Yeah, I understand that. But everybody else are, no spring practice, no fall camp. Half of the defensive secondary was in COVID protocol during the early stages of fall camp. The two alley players are acclimating. It is not hard to see why they're discombobulated on that side of the ball. It's not hard to understand. Now, the defense in the second half played much better and really kind of bowed their neck and made stops that needed to be made. That allowed the comeback and the offense to kick into gear. That was the defense's doing. First half, like I said, the first half was atrocious. I think Kentucky ran for 260 yards. It was atrocious. But After Kentucky did right before the end of the half, right after halftime, scoring touchdowns, and took a 14-14 game to 28-14, it became on the defense for us to come back. I've seen many of Ole Miss games in my life where it was 28-14 and that game ended up 42-14. But, I mean, Kentucky scored 21 points in the first half, 20 points in the second half in overtime. If you take out overtime, they scored 14. I mean, it was just a much better performance in the second half. Now, it's not great. We're talking about everything we do is going to be discussing about moving forward to get where we want to be. We're not ever going to be where we want to be. We understand that. But it's about improving. It's about this being the world's longest spring practice in college football history. We have to take this for development. If we don't, it will be grossly misused. I mean, it's just the facts. Be grossly misused. But there you go, my reasons why the defense is struggling 2 weeks into the season. All right, segment 2 in the books. We're going to close it out after this. Stick around.
You want to answer that, don't you? I bet it's just killing you seeing the soft glow just inches away. Someone wants to tell you something or ask you something. Oh, come on, answer it already! Just so we're clear, that wasn't my fault. Next time, ignore your inner voice. Don't text and drive. A message from Florida's trusted choice independent insurance agents.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis. I just want you to stick around a little longer. We're going to get back to the podcast right after these messages.
Tonight, nearly 40,000 veterans across the country are homeless. These men and women have pledged to serve our nation, and now we must serve them. Landlords across the country have helped make significant progress in reducing veteran homelessness by making housing available, but there is more that we can do to bring our veterans home. Visit www.va.gov/homeless to see how you can get involved. And if you are a veteran and you are experiencing homelessness, please call 877-4AID-VET. Thank you.
All right, POMcast segment 3. Thanks for tuning in this fine day. Now, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Jonathan Mingo. We called on this podcast for him to step up. He did. Kenny Yeboah is doing what he does. He's a matchup problem on the outside. And the more that he can be used, the more of a weapon he will become. Elijah Moore is up to 20 catches already this season. He's on pace for 100, which will, break the school record for receptions sometime around the first quarter of the Mississippi State game, with plenty to spare. So, in our passing game, now, Elijah Moore caught 10, Jonathan Mingo caught 8, Kenny Yeboah caught 3, and then there's like 1-1-1, and that's everybody. They caught a pass. And that's fine because everything is based off of what the defense is doing. And we've added that second receiver. Besides Kenny Yeboah, I'm not going to count the tight end because he needs to always be basically a third. But there needs to be a second receiver to take a little bit of the pressure off Elijah Moore. You can't double Jonathan Mingo and Elijah Moore. And if you can somehow double them both, the backs are going to be wide open along with the tight end. So that was it was a good day for the wide receiving core. Now, for some reason, the same passes that they tried to connect with Elijah Moore, they tried to connect twice with Dennis Jackson, and that did not work. There was not the separation. So we got a little bit of improving that needs to happen between the first and the second team. Lane Kiffin was really big on the second team wide receiver unit stepping up. Now, as this early season started, everybody points out that first week we played very few people. Well, that's because of fall camp and COVID and everything else. There's a smaller group of players that you fully trust, and then it will expand as the season progresses. So just, look at that and understand what they're doing. There's a method to all of this madness. There's a method to madness on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to talk about playing physical and doing this, and they're going to do a little bit of coach speak. But at the end of the day, you do that by don't make excuses for COVID, because COVID happened and it decimated your defense. And they're not making excuses for that, but that's a real thing that we need to understand. We need to understand that. Because, it's a real thing. This is the world's longest spring practice, 10 games. Accentuate the positives, celebrate them. In every victory you have, celebrate it. Ignore the negatives. It's the only way to get through this. Now, once we get to game 7 and the season is almost over, things will kind of start to look right. Game 6, game 5, somewhere in there. But as you can see, watching SEC football, this is all about continuity. And the teams that have that continuity are doing better than the rest. Florida is just moseying on through. You look at Georgia last week, they struggled on offense. They have a new coordinator, new quarterback. They change it around, they get it fixed the second week, it looks a little better. Kind of looks like last year, but it looks a little better. Mississippi State looked great week 1. But as we found out, that was more of an indictment on LSU than a celebration on Mississippi State. Arkansas just ran basically one defense, just cover 3. Sometimes 6 defensive backs on the field, and just, let's go. And Arkansas ended their 20-game losing streak in the SEC, beating Mississippi State. Auburn, new coordinator. You lose continuity at that point. Tennessee has everybody back. Alabama has everybody back. It shows. The number one thing for the next few weeks is continuity. Now, you can see the new guys starting to get a little bit better. Like Ole Miss is really good on one side of the ball, but the other side has to be fixed. But that's what we should look for. Continuity. That's the number one thing in this COVID environment. Continuity. Now, the fact that Lane Kiffin's offense has gone against 2 defense with excellent continuity and still put up those numbers is a very good sign. It really is. His real test is this week. This will be the hardest defense that he plays this season. And the offense, if they can put up a similar type performance, then it's time to go. Let's do this. Then all we have to do is fix the defense. We need to fix the special teams. Also, congratulations to Matt Corral, Elijah Moore, and Luke Logan. Those 3 were vilified after state. scored the touchdown, threw the pass, and kicked the extra point to beat Kentucky. Congratulations. All right, that's it for the POMcast. I'll talk to you later. Thank you very much.